And we're live. Oh, completely overlooked it. Man, I've seen the first comment from Wyatt Lawrence 3970, and I just want I love that as a first comment on the live. Big oh.
Yeah, I think that's on your end.
Sorry guys. I saw the comment. Let's fucking go. This is where the boys get separate from the men, and I absolutely love that comment so much that I wanted to bring it up. It's not the direct title of this live stream, but I mean it should be the title of this live stream, because a lot of people are freaking out. What's Bitcoin doing? What strategy is doing? What's the whole market doing, and what's going on? They're concerned that we're now going to zero. Now it's over. That's where it all ends. Tuesday, the 2nd of June. So what are you guys thinking about where we are in the market and what we're doing?
I mean, everybody's too emotional always around Bitcoin, right? It's not just when it's going lower. It's also like we had a run up to 80K. And people were thinking, "Oh, this is it. It's over. Digital credits here. We're going way higher. We're going. It's just people get so tied into it and don't think, like, it's just unrealistic to expect anything to go in one direction forever, right? Like even right now, right? Like this morning, there's this massive red candle of Bitcoin. And then it's sort of been bought up a little bit, right? People are going to step in. They're just going to say, hey, this is a really good deal. Like there's just unemotional buyers. There's bots when certain sort of metrics will hit certain thing, indicators will hit certain thing. They just step in because they know that that's a decent strategy to do when these metrics are flashing red, right? Like a really simple strategy that takes the emotion out of everything is just the fear and greed index. And as soon as we're touching fear, you just buy more. As soon as you're touching extreme fear, you just buy more. If you've done that strategy for the entire history of Bitcoin, you will have way more Bitcoin than if you tried to time selling it, even using the fear and greed index to sell it. Like you're still, because this asset goes up into the right over time. So selling it is where it gets tricky, but buying it and accumulating wealth and double dipping when we're in fearful territory has been like an unbelievable strategy. And that's because it's an unemotional strategy, but it's taking advantage of the natural emotions of a market.
I love that. Hi, Brian. How are you doing?
Boys.
Awesome to have you two here. We felt like because we got that comment. Wait, where is it? I love that a lot. I can't find it. Yeah, here. Bitcoiners are early to the adoption, but late to the lives. So I was like, I can't let that sit. I'll just go live now with you guys, and I'll let Brandon hop in later.
My kid, so yeah,
it's all good, buddy. Welcome, Brandon.
Better late than never.
Right before the stream, we're actually talking about Garth Brooks, and this is an interesting tidbit for everybody. Number one, Robin didn't know who Garth Brooks was. That was mind-blowing to me. But number two, take a look. If you got some time today, type in Garth Brooks alter ego, and you're gonna see some crazy shit. You're gonna see a guy named Chris Gaines, who's the emo version of Garth Brooks. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Garth Brooks famously sung a song called "The Thunder Rolls," and it's storming here right now. So that's why you can see the orange on my face. You can see the light coming off that because there's no light outside. It's gonna be a storm here. So if you guys lose me, that's what happened. Is my my power went out. So
Garth Brooks,
it is what it is. You know, the longer you spend in Bitcoin, the less phase you become with this kind of stuff. Seahawk said the market is emo. That's very true. That's what it is, right? Like the value of Bitcoin hasn't changed. People's perception of it, and the fiat equivalent of Bitcoin is very volatile. And it's just because very few people on this planet actually understand what is going on here, what they're holding. Because if you knew what you're holding, you'd never get shaken out by any sort of news, really, unless it was like detrimental to Bitcoin itself. It's just another day here. And VHF, one of the famous, I'm not going to call him a troll because he's a good guy, but he likes trolling, and he's trying to give a shit for the title or something today. Is that what you're mad about, VHF, about the title? New low. I mean, the new low of Bitcoin would be when we get back to $1 or something, where that'd be the official new low. But like recently, it does feel like we're pretty low compared to like what? When was the last time we were here? February in terms of the fiat exchange rate? February? So
I'll bring it up briefly, but you keep talking.
Yeah. So that's no need to be getting all hot and bothered, VHF. It's just this is where we're at. People like thinking week to week. It's good. You know, it's just one of those things where you got to ask yourself, who are you? You know, are you a buyer? Are you a seller? Are you accumulating Bitcoin right now, or are you looking to retire off it? For me personally, I'm a buyer. I'm accumulating as many Satoshis as I can. And when the price goes down like this, the exchange rate goes down, I get more of the units that I want for the same amount of units that I don't want. So this is, it's heaven for me.
We literally have been here in April. it's like not even 2 months, like about 2 months ago. So yeah, I get it. Like I chose we chose the title of like Bitcoin just hit a new low, which it did compared to like the last 40, 50 days. But like it's so interesting how Twitter and the overall Bitcoin space and community sometimes works. It has a memory of about 1-2 weeks, and if the last 1-2 weeks have been going down, like everyone is feeling depressed and like scared, and if the Bitcoin price went up for like in 2 weeks, everyone is like happy and like in euphoria mode, and that's kind of, I think, perfectly describes where Bitcoin is going. I mean, it's been like 9 months in the last all-time high or something like that. So it's not been too long here, October, where the all-time high was. So it's obviously like we have crashed about like 45%, which isn't that much actually. Like if you think about Bitcoin's history, all-time high 45% down, that's not dramatic. I mean, you just erased 50% of your purchasing power, but it's not that much if you compare it to like Bitcoin's history that has done 70, 80, 60% crashes repeatedly, even in good times where the equity market was going up. I was actually comparing it. I'm curious how you guys think about that, because we have seen the equity market going up. I think S&P 500 just hit today or yesterday a new all-time high, and the Bitcoin market just gets crashed. I mean, the equity market is up because AI trade. The meta stocks and the tech stocks, software companies are also down massively. So we have to kind of differentiate there a little bit. But yeah, what do you guys think? Like the overall S&P 500 hitting all-time high, while Bitcoin hitting new lows since not seen since 2 months.
Those three things are directly connected.
Yep.
This is people. I actually saw a tweet by oh shoot, I'm not going to give credit to him because I forget what his name is. He's the guy who wrote the speculative attack article.
Bitstein. Yeah. Michael Goldstein.
No, maybe he didn't write it then. I thought he was credited with it. Anyway, I saw a tweet today that said Bitcoin goes up when there's extra savings, right? So when there's extra money and there's not really anywhere else to put it, Bitcoin's going to go up, right? Stimmy checks hit in 2020 or whatever.
Pierre, sorry.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's
it's him and Bitstein. But Bitstein did the everyone's a scammer. But they did all that stuff together. Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah, that's who it was. And then he said when there's productive assets need investment. So that's essentially what this money going into the S&P and all this AI is this is investors seeing this as investment, and they're saying we're not going to just put money idly by in savings, which is what Bitcoin is more connected to. I know that's maybe controversial opinion, but that's what I would say about that. Those two things are directly connected.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And Joe was it Joe the hobo? Yeah, I mean that's it. Like people will be bitching so much if price ripped to 1 million tomorrow and be like, oh, I don't have any Bitcoin. I mean, it's just like you never win, and that's the part. I was just telling Jory yesterday, like I wrote an article or two just in the last couple of days, getting back to writing more, just cathartic and needing. Got away from it for a little while, but most people aren't going to. You got to love the battle in Bitcoin, and like I love bear markets, I love dips because it just completely just shows everyone's cards. Like who are the real ones? like George has put in the chat. Who are the real ones? Like, I don't care about, you know, what's going on in the world and the AI trade and all this stuff. I want to know who's in the trench with me, because as Eminem said in 8 Mile, I know something you don't know. I know all fiat currencies go to zero, and I know Bitcoin's promise hasn't changed. So there's only one direction this goes. And yes, are we extremely early? 100%. This is why what you guys just outlined is 100% true. But this is also why the vast majority of people don't play professional sports. This is why a vast majority of people aren't in Fortune 500 companies in the C-suite. This is why most people don't make it to the highest levels of society. The poor will always be among you. And a lot of people don't want to admit this. They don't want to admit this to themselves. I don't want to admit it to myself. You aren't cut out for it. End of story. You aren't cut out to hodl through all of this. If you're jumping in and out of things, if you're, you know, sitting here with high time preference, well, good luck. Because I know where things are going. I've done my work. I put in my time for decades. And I know exactly. I could not be more calm. When the price dips, I'm even more calm. When the price goes up, I get a little worried, because it's like, okay, what's going to start breaking around me? Like, what's happening? And so when you get to that point of Zen, it's a whole different world. But then you look around and realize that how few people are actually there. And the good thing is this is going to take a while, because when things are good and people forget only 5-6 years ago, when government's literally forcing injections into people's bodies, when 10-15 years ago, they're forcing you, the Supreme Court here in America is literally going outside scope creep, outside their jurisdiction to change laws, which is not their job. And you understand, oh my gosh, wow, even Supreme Court justices are blackmailed. All these people, it's an entire game. And when you're here to separate money and state and start ridding ourselves of all that, you're playing on a different battlefield. And most people, they're on the Titanic still. They're over here shuffling assets. They're in and out of gold. They're getting their stocks. They're worried about strategy. That's not the game I'm playing. I could care less. I love people, I'm sure, will show up and be like, oh, what are these Bitcoiners going to think today? We aren't the same. It will never be the same, because you are weak. End of story.
Let's go.
We're gonna start a little different today.
Let's go.
I love that energy of yours, man.
Amen.
I just love the battle. I absolutely love the battle. I love when the chips are down. My heart rate's up right now. Like I love it. I absolutely love it, because I want to see the shitheads all turned away. I want to see them, their face in their lap. I want to see who the real ones are. I want to see who is a warrior. That's what life is about. Life is a war. It's a battle. It's the church militant here on earth. That's what the earth is called, is church militant. And if you don't understand the spiritual warfare and what you're going through, I don't want to be around you. If you don't understand that, you don't even care to understand that, get away from me. I don't want to be around you. You're not in the trench with me.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing here too is it just seems pretty obvious, like, you know, S&P all-time highs, Bitcoin reaching new local lows pretty soon, right? Or, you know, around this area. Like, what asset looks like it has a better risk to reward ratio, right? Like, when things are rocketing up, it's, again, nothing moves in one direction permanently. Like, there's going to be corrections. So, like, I don't know, it just seems like there's this huge gap between these two assets, and it just makes me more bullish. Like, and there's so many reasons to be bullish, and a lot of them are just these bottom signals of, like, literally people being like, oh, MSTR sold 32 Bitcoin, next week it's 3,200 Bitcoin, you know, like, it's just, there's so many people calling for, which I'm surprised by. Like, I thought we were over this, but there's people calling for Bitcoin to go to zero all over my comments. I'm sure there is too. I thought we were over. Like, that's ridiculous to me.
Wild.
Like, that's hilarious. I was just arguing with somebody on my YouTube. They were saying, like, oh, the government's going to dismantle Bitcoin. Like, I'm afraid you don't understand Bitcoin,
man.
sir. Like, you just don't know what you're talking about here. Like, that's not the way this works.
Yeah, and it's I just, you know, it's the lens that people see the world through, and I think that, you know, I've kind of been in this mentality for a long time now, and it's actually really helped the way I, you know, approach each day and approach conversations and approach live streams like this. It's like, I think about my Bitcoin like farmland, and, you know, farmers don't check the price of their land every lunchtime, and if they did and they saw the value of the land going down around them, even though they already know what they're holding, they know that they have very fertile, good soil that produces good crops every year, They look at the land next to them and they say, oh, that's 40% off. It's a no-brainer. They're running as fast as they can to the bank to get some money to buy that land. And if you think about Bitcoin, just like farmland, it's a little bit different though, because number one, it doesn't matter where your land is. Like farmers strategically have to place their land, their plots of land near their area so they can operationally get there and, produce a crop. Whereas Bitcoin, if you look at your UTXO, it's just like a section of land and you say, okay, the price is down 40%. I'm going to accumulate more land for my generational wealth for my family here. It doesn't matter where that UTXO is. There's no geographical borders in Bitcoin. You can take that plot of land or that UTXO and bring it into your land, and it's just like nothing changed. There's no geographical constraints with Bitcoin. And so when you think about it from that perspective of like, you want to accumulate as much as you can. And at the end of every day, everybody has X amount of value that they want to store in their land or in their Bitcoin or whatever. And you get that same amount coming in every day for the most part, especially if you have a 9-to-5 job. You get that same amount of fiat dollars at the end of every workday. And that's what you're looking to allocate. And on days like this where it's down, you get more of the units that you want for the same amount of units that you have to store. So it to me, it's like, it's impossible that you could ever be sad about this right now. This is like a blessing, especially for the people who got here in 2024, 2025. And you watched it go up to 100, then 150, and then 125. And you're thinking, this thing's running away from me. God, I wish I'd give anything right now to have $67,000 Bitcoin. Here it is. Here it is right in front of your eyes today. And you're spending your time complaining about it just because your ego sees your net worth is down, even though that's a complete illusion until you actually sell that Bitcoin, until you take the proceeds from that. It's just an illusion. It's just what the world sees it as. You know what it is. So it's like, to me, this is a blessing. It's an absolute blessing. Days like this, weeks like this, these are how you actually accumulate a significant plot of land. And that's where we are. So God bless.
And the weekends like Sailor selling.
Who would have thought we would say that?
Everyone wants the quick fix, the diet pill. Again, it just goes back to what's your mentality? What's your mindset in life? No one wants to put in the work. We're just, the attention span of goldfish, all of it. And that's why most people don't have 2 pennies to rub together, 2 sats to rub together, because they're constantly looking for quick and easy fixes all the time. I remember telling people growing up that, like when I was growing up and I was playing in college, and then I was playing in the minor leagues, people were like, oh, okay, well, what'd you do growing up? And I would tell them my workout regimen. I'd tell them like what I would do in the summers and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I'd work out. I'd skate a few times a week. I'd work out every day. I'd, watch some film and watch Don Cherry's Rock'em Sock'em. Like I'd be watching Sergey Fedorov skate in slow motion, breaking it down. I'd shoot 500 pucks a day. And they're like looking at me like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, like it's called being a professional. It's called, how bad do you want it? And most people don't want it that bad. They say they want it, but their actions say something much different. They want to be in shape, but they do nothing to get in shape. They say they want to be wealthy, but they do nothing to get wealthy. They just go to work for 40 years, working for infinite pieces of paper and trading it for their finite time. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And I just had someone, the guy the other day, like you said, just objections to FUD that, he's telling me on my Substack again of how, Epstein's involved and this and that and, whatever. And all the developers left and, it's like, that's a feature. It's not a bug. Like you do realize that, right? Like Bitcoin's way behind the development curve. It's like, it doesn't need to develop. It is money. Like you don't understand what's going on right now. And that's most of life. We go back to the founding fathers. Only a couple % of people grabbed the musket and said, yeah, I'm done here. We're not doing this anymore. Most people, and that's a base group of people 250 years ago that came over here or that were a generation or two removed from their family coming over for a month or two on a wooden boat across the ocean. And even most of those people said, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm empathetic. I got my head in the sand. Most people, it's not going to be many in this foxhole. There's just not going to be many. It's going to be, and that's kind of why I look at Bitcoiners, to be totally honest. Like a lot of Bitcoiners, that's why it's frustrating to me over the last couple of years. Most Bitcoiners are sitting around like libertarians do, and they just fade into the cornfield, and they just like Field of Dreams, and they just kind of, oh well, I'm just gonna. It's all FUBAR, so I'm not going to be involved. Okay, well, you just leave it to the inferior people who will run everything for you, and this is what we constantly get over and over again. And if people don't start getting active, then You'll just get you'll get what's given to you. Freedom is taken. It's not granted. I don't know how this concept is so hard to figure out, but we're going to have more pain, unfortunately. More pain, more dumb things, which goes back to flowchart, back to the beginning, like we just said. When things are easy and people are running their Claude code and this is the trade, and everyone on Twitter and Reddit, all these yahoos are sitting here talking about that, and you forgot already, because your memory is like a goldfish, like we stated earlier, that government rug pulled you 15 years ago. Government rug pulled you in 2019, 2020, 2021, printing all the currency, locking you in your homes. When you can't even remember that, and the egregiousness of those things, family members separated from each other, couldn't see people dying, on and on and on, and you just forget that. You're like, yeah, I believe in the system again. I'm all good. No, I'm going to go right back in the stock market. I'm going to go right into that. Is clown world. Amen. Absolute clown world. And that's how I know you're weak. That's how I know your mind is small and you have no memory. You're not using your higher faculties. This is very, very simple. And the fact that, like you guys said, we're still here at this place, and people 17 years later, people are still, oh, it's going to zero. Like, what? Like, what kind of insanity? Like, what are you on? What kind of seed oils are you eating? What pills are you taking? That's what I want to know. Absolute lunacy.
What do you think, Robin? You're a common reason voice here.
I try to be. I wrote it in my chat. I was buying today. I was actively buying some BTC, and I was automatic limit buying. I don't know how do you call that, MSTR. Because I have some prices. If MSTR dips under that, it's just too good for me to not buy it, and I'll have that like every month set up. I don't have it for Bitcoin because I earn Bitcoin, so I usually actually don't buy Bitcoin. I just get it in that way. But today I actually actively bought Bitcoin. I haven't done that since I think I don't know, half a year or almost a year, because I'm earning Bitcoin, so I usually don't have to buy it, but it's just too good of a price. And if you see that and if you know what's going on, you're like, why wouldn't you? I mean, the why might be a good reason, like I don't have money, or like I should not spend it because I have to make ends meet at the end of the day, and I don't want to sell it again because then the brokerages just eat my fee, which is a fair argument. But I just look at the price and it's like, yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. Then you just have to ask yourself, do you have extra cash that you can potentially put into Bitcoin? If yes, put it there. Not financial advice. If no, just keep on digging. Do what you have to do. Spend some time with the family. Spend some time a little bit harder at work. This is the time to gear up. Especially if you have, if your income is not Bitcoin related, you might have it actually better, because I don't know about you guys, but the income, I see it with Microseed, I see it with my podcasting business. I see it actually way more with Microseed than with the podcasting business. The income massively correlates to the Bitcoin price and to what's currently going on in the ecosystem. And if most people listening to this probably don't have a Bitcoin shop, and so you have a normal fiat shop that just pays you whatever you get paid. Yep. And so if you think about it, you just get twice as many sats for the same amount of hours than you just got 9 months ago. And so I think this should be a massive motivation for you to go out there and do your part. I mean, kind of Brandon pointed at it. It's the best opportunity. You should go out there, you should do something, and not bitch and whine at home that your Bitcoin are going down. That's kind of I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm 6 years now into Bitcoin and it doesn't really bother me anymore. Obviously, there's always some kind of emotional thing going on with Bitcoin price. If it goes up and down, you see, I can't fight that small excitement if I see a 7% up candle in Bitcoin, even though it's it doesn't do anything because I'm not selling, I'm not borrowing against it, I'm not doing anything with it. And when it goes down, I get this fear and this fear of missing out also a little bit, that I want to get in there, even though sometimes I don't have cash for it. So I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And also, maybe the question also from the title, is this the Bitcoin bottom? I put it very purposely in there because people ask that all the time. And I think that question, if like, is this the bottom, it's not a stupid one, but I want to call it a stupid one because there is no good answer to that. You can't answer that question in any real way. You can say there's a very high likelihood that this is the bottom. There's a very high likelihood that from here on out, there's most likely more upside potential than downside potential. Like you can give answers like that. But it can always go lower. Just because something went down 50% doesn't mean it can go down another 50% or another 40%. And there is no magic bottom. You cannot look at a chart and say like, hey, here and this and draw and here and that. Here's the bottom. It's 40K, 45, 42, 41, 39, whatever it is. You can just look, as Forrest said in the beginning, you can just look at Fear and Greed Index. You can look at the 4-year moving average, for example. I think the 4-year moving average is an amazing chart to look at to see like where we are and also kind of to zoom out of it. Because if you look at the 4-year moving average, you see it's just like a very calm, nice chart up and to the right. That's all it is. And so, yeah, I mean, just chill out. I think that's the main message here.
Chill the heck out. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing for like I think the four of us are all kind of in this same boat where one thing I've noticed over the last couple of years is like when it's a double-edged sword, but it's also a good thing. So when Bitcoin's kind of in a bear market like we are right now, obviously there's less mainstream interest. So there's less views on the videos, therefore less revenue for us. But because the price is low, we can still take that those fiat dollars and buy cheaper Bitcoin. So it kind of works out in that way. And then the reverse is also true where when price is up, there's lots of interest. There's lots of interest in Bitcoin, lots of views on the channel. You know, there's a lot of things going right. But then when you go to actually exchange those same fiat dollars, you're getting about the same amount of sats as you would at this time. So it's like it's all averages. It all kind of works out. The point is that you want to trade all of your assets that aren't sovereign for assets that are sovereign. And so to me, that's not MicroStrategy. That's not STRC. That's not a Bitcoin ETF. That's not Bitcoin at Coinbase. That's Bitcoin in your self-custody. And the more of those sats that you can get that nobody knows that you have, the better off you are. Whereas most people have a 9-to-5 job that, like Robin said, and I alluded to before, is like you get the same amount of money every 2 weeks. And whatever you have left over, you put into Bitcoin. Right now, you're actually doing way better than you would be doing if the price were double right now. You put in the exact same amount of effort, exert the exact same amount of energy today, you get double the amount of sats, real units, than you did 6 months ago for doing the exact same work, exact same job, exact same energy output, except now you can convert those fiat units into double the amount of sats. Like it's a good thing. I don't even think that it should be like, oh, we're okay, we're fine, things are okay. No, this is how you actually make hay in Bitcoin are times like these. So, and one more thing here, Brandon, you kind of mentioned like the professional athlete thing there. And I think that most people see like whether it's a very talented musician or a professional athlete, they kind of just see like the end product of it, right? They don't see all the time in the gym. They don't see all the time spent practicing. They just see the final end version of that because that's usually when you see people is when they're at their peak. And people just assume, yeah, like, of course, like he's very talented, very gifted. They don't see the work. And it's the same in Bitcoin. In 10 or 15 years from today, people are going to look at you and you're going to have, 1,000 acres of land, a castle on that land, 10 trucks in the driveway, whatever the hell you want. And they're going to say, well, of course that happened. But they don't see times like this where you watch your net worth get cut in half. They weren't around for that. They just see the final product, the end product of that. And so I think that it's the exact same thing here in Bitcoin as anything. And it's all kind of based around this premises of proof of work. That's what Bitcoin's entire ethos is proof of work. And if you aren't willing to put in the work, then you're not going to get the reward that the people who did go through that receive. Simple as that.
And I think it's a hard reality because you get kind of laughed at if you're a Bitcoiner. You kind of get you kind of like, oh, okay, he's into this Bitcoin thing. It's not really finance, like it's not really an investment. It's kind of this like weird internet thingy. But then if it goes to like 500,000, a million, 10 million, and like 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, people will call you lucky. And so, and they don't realize like the 70% drawdowns, the social things that you have to go through, the hardening of like you have been, as Brent said, like in the battlefield. And I hate to break it to people, but I don't think you get the credit. You don't get the payoff at the end of the day from other people and calling you, wow, you have such a genius. I think people will call you lucky.
I think the other thing too with human nature, or at least the way we've developed as a society, is people just opt for the easy way out, the easy option. And it's really easy to dunk on Bitcoin after it draws down, right? So that's why we start to see people saying, oh, this is like, does anybody care about Bitcoin anymore? Saylor does it, like Saylor said never sell, he's selling, right? It's really easy to say these things. It's also really easy to say the inverse as it's ripping up. And these people that take the easy way, they're probably wrong on both accounts, at least for the short term, even for the people that are calling for Bitcoin to go higher, right? Because they're taking the easy route. They're taking the emotional route. When things are going up, it's exciting. You think it's going to go higher. So it's easy. It's very easy in that moment to say, hey, I think it's going to go even higher. It's difficult. It's hard to say the opposite, even though it's more likely at that moment. So right now, where we've declined, it's easy to say it's going to go lower. It's harder to say, you know what, I think you guys are wrong about Bitcoin. I don't think Bitcoin's going to go to zero. I actually think right now is a really good time to buy. People are going to look at you and think you've lost the plot. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're going to be wrong. I look at people that think that, and I think you haven't studied. You haven't done you haven't looked at the history of Bitcoin.
You haven't put in the work.
You haven't put in the work. And yeah, there's a great website. I think it's Bitcoin is Dead, and it shows every time that a prominent analyst has said that Bitcoin is like dead, like dead on arrival kind of thing. And if you bought $100 at each moment of that time, I think it's 428 buys or something like that, and it's probably around $70 million worth of Bitcoin for like $40,000 or $50,000 of investment. So those are people that are doing the hard thing, right? It's easy to read something by an expert and think, okay, that person's right. It's easy to go and buy the S&P 500 and hope for a 10% annual return. And it's very difficult to say, what if this person is wrong? And I'm going to make a decision that I'll probably get laughed at for years until ultimately I'm right, and I don't even get any credit from those same people that I'm right. It's a difficult road to go down. But just like that saying goes, where it's like rough seas make smooth sailors, that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for an easy life today. If we were, we would just, I don't know, make terrible mistakes that like buying the S&P 500 and sitting on that, or, just people make unbelievably terrible financial mistakes that don't set them up. Like buying the S&P is actually like okay. A lot of people just don't even invest at all, right? They don't even take the step to even like think about their finances, and then when they retire, they're like in some government subsidy shithole where the nurses are robbing from them, and like you're just on fixed income, and your life is terrible, and it's really unfortunate. And like that's the rough sailor, the sailor who didn't learn, right? Because they tried to take the easy way out. That's not how you want to be as an individual. You want to do hard things that are rewarding. And I think holding Bitcoin is hard. I think holding Bitcoin is way harder than people think it is. Holding volatile assets is way harder than people realize until they're taking a beating, right? And then it ends up being rewarding in the long run.
I think Andrew just said, what if we're wrong? And this is something I've thought about this a million times. This is why I'm in Bitcoin in the first place, because I've went down that road a million times. And so what if I am? What if I'm wrong about real estate? What if I'm wrong about gold and silver? That's how I found Bitcoin. That's how what if I'm wrong about these altcoins? That's how I got to Bitcoin. We've talked about this many times. It's the fatal funnel. You have to go through the door. When you're clearing a house, what happens? All the barrels of all the firearms are aimed at the door, right? Like, you have to go through the fatal funnel in order to get the mission accomplished. You have to do that. That's not easy. And so that's the process that a Bitcoiner has to go through. Someone that's, basically calling out the system, right? Speculative attacking the system and saying, yeah, this isn't going to go any much further. It might go another month or two, a year or two. It could go another decade or two, but it's not going to go on much longer. And that's where we've talked about putting the work. You guys have said as much so far. Which direction is the arc of society headed? Someone mentioned earlier, again, like the fourth turning thing, right? The weak times create, strong men, et cetera, et cetera. Where do you know where you're at on that spectrum? And it's tough, like Bitcoin doesn't have a marketing department. Altcoins have marketing departments. Currencies have marketing departments. Companies have marketing departments. We are the marketing department of Bitcoin. So it's always kicked out to the curb. Look there's real signal in all the noise right now with SpaceX. What did they just announce? They have 30,000 plus Bitcoin between, I think it's SpaceX and Tesla and everything. And everyone thought they had way less. And Elon was in the PayPal mafia. He was trying to go down this road. He's not out there. He was out there pumping Doge, right? And so what does that kind of tell you? What is reading between the lines, some of the signal between the noise? Those who know, if you know, they're not pumping Bitcoin. They don't want it to pump. They want it to stack as many sats as you can over time. They're not looking to sit here and I'm going to pump Bitcoin the whole time. Governments aren't going to pump Bitcoin because it demonetizes them. Banks aren't going to pump it because it demonetizes them. There's no company that says, oh, this is great, so I'm going to pump Bitcoin. No, they have all their little altcoins and different side chains and all the other garbage where only they benefit. So you have to look at the incentives of society and where we're at and the arc of history. Where are we at in history and the timeline you're on? These are these things that, again, I just was telling Jordan too. I got in an argument with a guy the other day, and he's telling me about different pump and dumps in crypto. And he's like, "Oh, you're a Bitcoiner, huh?" Like, "Oh yeah, it's just past its time." And Epstein again, like, all this different stuff. I'm like, you and I couldn't be more different. I'm here to separate money and state, like I said earlier, and that's why I was going down this road a little bit. But that's the mission. It's to fix the incentives of society, reorient the architecture of society, so that I'm not having to jump into every single AI trade and read Reddit threads all day and be a hedge fund manager on the side of my job, get divorced because I spend 95% of my time away from my family, away from my spouse, because I'm trying to be a hedge fund manager to keep up with inflation. That is why Bitcoin is here. And that's why we are Bitcoiners. And that right there, when you just sit in Bitcoin over time, that's what gives you the ability. We said here as well too, Robert Kiyosaki has said for decades, the more real estate I buy, the more time I have. And the more time I have, the more real estate I buy. Well, guess what? Now that's Bitcoin. The more the more Bitcoin I buy, the more time I have. The more time I have, the more Bitcoin I buy. And I get to do what with that time? This is the opportunity cost. Because you are now chasing meme coins, altcoins, different currencies, Forex, different companies, NVIDIA, whatever. You now are sacrificing your time with your family, with your calling in life, with your passion, with other family members, with your friends, being creative, doing art, writing books, studying monetary history, actually furthering society going forward. That's the opportunity cost, because you are sitting there still trying to figure out the plumbing like George Gammon and Jeff Snyder. What's the Fed going to do next? And figuring all the plumbing when it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. It's all going to zero. Newsflash, guys, it's all going to zero. You guys are brilliant people. Let's get on the future here and figure out the solution. We know the problem. We know the Fed's a problem. We know the central banking is a problem. There are answers though now. We have an answer. And you get there by putting the work in and humbling yourself at the end of the day and realizing I don't know everything. And I did this with gold. I did it with real estate and thinking, you know what? Maybe there is something different. I just haven't seen anything different yet. And I've said this before multiple times. If there is something better than Bitcoin at some point, if an alien comes here and gives us a new element to the periodic table that we haven't discovered, and somehow we can create better money because of that, or whatever it is, I don't even know what that is, then I am open to changing. That's why I'm a Bitcoiner in the first place. So until or unless one of two things happen, that happens right there. And the promise of Bitcoin, the properties of Bitcoin change, and now it's not decentralized, it's not secure anymore. And then governments don't print money anymore. And all of a sudden we reverse the trend, and we're not inflating all the currencies through hyperinflation to zero, which, newsflash again, all of them have gone to zero in human history. Until or unless those two things change, Bitcoin's it. And so it's a very, very simple process. Occam's razor, the simplest answer is almost always the right answer, but it goes back to The developers are gone. Like I said earlier, this and that. We're behind the curve. And we got to activity bias. We got to play funny games. And we got to do more with Bitcoin. That's the problem. People's impatience, the high time preference. That is what will destroy all of us at the end of the day. It'll destroy us individually, our families. It'll destroy all of us because of the high time preference, goldfish memory nature of human beings. It only continues and speeds up through commercialism and through being on the hamster wheel. Going back to, again, flowchart, the more Bitcoin I buy, the more time I have. The more time I have, the more I can create. The more I can actually give back to society. And that's the loop. That's the rabbit hole that we're chasing. And that's what we're trying to get people off of. We're trying to get off that hamster wheel. So we're not continually chasing different chairs in the Titanic like we're a squirrel.
Yeah, people don't understand how revolutionary Bitcoin is as an asset. And also, everyone in the chat, somebody in the chat needs to make an AI image of an alien handing a new element to Brandon. That would be amazing. The other thing I wanted to say too is
that's from Alan Hibbard, by the way. That wasn't my idea. It was Alan Hibbard who was running gold and silver from Mike Maloney and took it over from him. A great Bitcoiner, by the way. He was at the Bitcoin conference, was hanging out with him. Great friend of mine. But he was the only person I've seen that he said that. I was like, I agree. Like, if that happens, then hey, like let's figure it out. But until and unless that happens, so I have to get that's Alan's credit.
Yeah. Yeah, and many others have said this too, right? As long as Bitcoin stays decentralized and secure, it is the best chance we have at a neutral monetary network that is fair to all people that voluntarily get involved in it, right? And that's what Bitcoin is ultimately. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of folks out there, George Gammon, the others that you mentioned, that make a lot of money by being plumbers, right? By adjusting the screws and bolts and the pipes and all that, right? And if they just said, hey, this is the answer, let's all get aboard, let's hop on the life raft, right? I think a lot of their audience would just dwindle to the
channel goes away.
Yeah, the channel goes away. It just goes towards another kind of Bitcoin channel, which so there's a couple of Bitcoin channels out there that do numbers, but a lot of them don't. They kind of just have like a core sort of base audience, because how many times can you just tell people, hey, study Bitcoin, you're going to want to heavily accumulate this thing, hop aboard the life raft. It's really that simple, right? Like
plenty of times.
Yeah, we can, and we do. I mean, we're here every week, right? We talk about it a lot, but I think it's less interesting than saying, hey, the Fed is doing this and the Fort Knox is doing that, and here's how the inner workings of this works and whatever, right? It's all this crap that like is so momentary in its importance when you look at something that has this massive effect, but it just takes time to develop. Bitcoin is so much more important than the things they're talking about.
Yeah, and to your point, Forrest, I mean, current events trump future trends. So that's the hard life of a Bitcoiner as well. You're dealing with something that's in the future. It's guaranteed to happen in the future, like we all just have outlined, but it's not here today. So it's just like the not sunk cost fallacy, but it's like this, time fallacy or whatever you want to call it, where people are like, well, hey, I ate a bunch of seed oils today, Brandon, and I didn't die of a heart attack. So like, you're kind of wrong, like that's the lunacy that we deal with. And that's where it's like, yeah, I get that. I'm just telling you, if you keep doing this, or like if we keep going this direction, it's not going to end well. Yeah, but it didn't happen today. And to your guys' point earlier, again, it's easy to just poke fun at something or to be cynical. It's very easy. They never made a statue for a cynic ever, because they're constantly telling you how this is wrong. They don't want to do the homework. They don't want, because it's hard. It's a challenge to put in the work, to go put the reps in. It's easy to just sit there and say, oh, that's not good, and just chase shiny objects. And most days are brutal to be a Bitcoiner. Forrest, you might know, or Joe or Robin, but it was like 10 days of the year or 10 days of the cycle is when you really have the explosive moves. Yeah. So what's the opposite of that? The other opposite time is like we're sitting here arguing and getting beat in the face. And that's why we started today. Like, you got to love to battle. My coach at Michigan State, he always says, you got to love to battle. Like, if you're going to be a successful hockey player, if you're going to be a successful athlete, if you're a musician, entertainer, Bitcoiner, you got to love to battle. You got to love to be in the trenches fighting it out, because it's not some like, pious, thing. Like you're just, getting, taken around on your throne or something like that. Like you're constantly in the trenches battling. And that's what I feel like we've lost a little bit that last couple of years. The ETFs, like just a lot of distraction for Bitcoiners, and losing that culture of battling. the toxicity, the memes, which that cuts both ways. You got to be careful of the toxicity at times, but we've lost it. We've lost a fair amount of that. It used to be everyone kind of banded together, fighting the establishment, and now it's very fractured. It's just people all over the place. Look, here's a great example. God love all the people, know a lot of them that have gone from, hey, I used to create content and now I'm working for a Bitcoin treasury company, right? A lot of good Bitcoiners. But now what? Now you're captured. Now you can't say much. You literally legally can't say much. You're not allowed to say something. Dylan LeClaire is a great example of this. Great example. Yeah. Used to just shred people online. When's the last time you heard Dylan LeClaire shred anybody online? That is an anecdotal example of where we're at over the last 2, 3, 4 years of just kind of losing the plot. It's not Dylan's fault. Phenomenal kid, great guy, and he's doing his thing. But that's this culture shift we've had in Bitcoin that you have to be very careful. And this is why it goes back to, you have to take care of yourself. You got to set up your own sovereign stack. And George was talking about this the other day. Like, it's all there. It's all available for you. The privacy, everything, the Fedi mints, all the things are there for you to live sovereign and to see the beauty of Bitcoin. But most people are just distracted by Wall Street, the Wall Streetification of the things that are going on. And most people want that. They want sanitized investments. They want something that's certain. They want to, when Bitcoin's at 1 million, then I'll get it. Like when Bitcoin does this, then I'll get it. They want certainty, and wealth is never made in certainty. Again, it goes back to the American founding. That's why I talk about it a lot. Obviously, we pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. There was no certainty. They were like, no, I'm certain I'm going to die if I do this. Freedom is taken. It's not granted. And that's the difference. And we're riding the line right now of people just falling off the horse and really, not seeing the end goal, keeping the end goal as the picture. And again, newsflash, we're not making it out alive. None of us are. So in that time period between your date on your death stone, when you're born and when you died, what does that dash represent? What does it represent? What are you here for at the end of the day? Because none of us are making it out alive. So are you buying yourself a few more years? What exactly are you doing? And that's the thing that you see kind of across society. And it's not just Bitcoiners, but it's politics. It's everything. You kind of see it across. Like, what are you here for? Like, what are you living for at the end of the day? That's the thing that needs to change. And I think it's going to, but we're going to have some interesting times between now and then.
Yeah, that's where I was actually going to go with this too. Is like, it's something I think a lot about is my soul more than anything else. And I think that if you can kind of look at it from the perspective of you as an 8-year-old kid and you as an 80-year-old man, and that's kind of what you're doing this whole thing for. And it's, it's easy to take the path of go to school, get a job, have a family, do okay. But I think the worst thing that you can do is know that something's very wrong with this system, know how much harm it's doing to people all around the world, and do fuck all about it. Those are the people, I think, that when they're 80 years old, I think that their 8-year-old version of themselves would be disappointed. But especially at the end of it, 80, 90, 100 years old, however long we live to, you think back and say, man, yeah, I had a pretty good life, but what if I actually would have done something? I knew something was wrong, but I didn't do anything about it. And so I think that as I'm going through this whole thing, it is a question that crossed my mind all the time. What if Bitcoin's built on cryptography? What if we find out there's a new math and this is broken somehow and all this is for nothing? And I still don't think that it would be for nothing, because I spent these years of my life being very hopeful of the future instead of very fearful and anxious and black-pilled. That's time that nobody can take away from me. Nobody can go back at the end of my life and say, you know what, we're going to take those 10 years that you were talking about Bitcoin and hopeful, and we're going to flip that around and turn you into a black pill, fearful, anxious bozo. You can't take that away from me. You can't take those years away from me where I was hopeful about the future and actually look forward to something, because most people don't have that right now. And so even if we turn out being wrong here, this is time well spent. In my opinion, this is time well spent. And I know for a fact that when I'm 80 years old, thinking back on my life, I will be very proud of being here right now, fighting the fight that we're fighting.
And it's never been easier to, I loved what Brandon was saying, like going harder, going the extra mile, and kind of sticking up for each other, being someone that is a responsible person. I've never seen an easier time to do that as of right now. Because as he said, and I 100% agree, people are getting softer. People are no longer want to take responsibility. They're no longer stepping up for each other and also not for themselves for some reason, which I don't understand. And so like, if you see all that, it's never been easier to actually like stick out of the crowd, be a little bit above average. You don't like, if you're just above average, it's like 10 times better already. And it's never been that easy to be a little bit above average. And it's never been as comfortable as it's right now to be just a little bit above average. So I don't know. You guys get me fired up. It's really cool because I see so many in my environment that just like, oh no, let's not do this. Like it's too much. Like I see so many people that have 100 excuses and not one action. And I just love seeing people that take a lot of action and like don't have excuses for them. Like they just do that.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody around us. That's how most people are. And you're right. It's pretty easy to stick out right now, but like the more people who are sticking out, because everybody's heard that kind of phrase of like, don't grow too tall or else you'll get cut off, like a tall piece of get your head cut off.
I hope not.
A tall piece of grass or a tall tree, but it's true because the tall trees, the wind gets them. The lawnmower gets the bigger piece of grass. But I think that the more we all kind of grow together, and that's why we're hoping, that's why we do things like this, is because the four of us individually aren't that strong. The four of us individually are tall trees in the forest or long pieces of grass, and we could get clipped off any day. But when you combine those efforts and you turn it into something, you collaborate and you're building with people, instead of the fighting and the arguing and all that bullshit, work in harmony, work with each other and do everything, understand what we're fighting for here. This isn't just to make us a little bit richer or so we can get a nicer car. Like there's a lot at stake here. There's a lot at stake here for us, for our kids and for their kids and down the road. Because if we get this right now, this is a 1,000, 2,000 year asset. And we're here right now. We're the pioneers. It's pretty damn cool to be here right now. And so, somebody in the chat said, it's not good or bad. It just is, right? It is what it is. And right now I can take same amount of units, buy more of the units I want. It's a good day. And just remember what you're fighting for, because when you understand Bitcoin and when you remember what you're fighting for, then it actually is easy. It seems hard. It would seem hard to most people, but it's actually easy, I think, because it's what you should be doing. Doing the right thing is never the wrong thing. And so even if we're wrong here, we're right about the fight that we're fighting. That's how I see it.
Yeah. I mean, where do you want to be? Like I said, it's the globalist plan. I've seen a few comments in here about that. It's, do you want sovereignty over your country? Do you want sovereignty over yourself? More importantly, what is it in the sacrifice that what sacrifice are you willing to put into all this? And like I said, I can only speak for myself, but I think I think about my hockey career and like all the things that, not going to school functions or doing different things, because it was like, no, I've got something bigger. I've got something bigger that I want to achieve. And I do a lot of thinking back even 100 years ago or 200, 500 years ago, and how hard life was for forever, for thousands of years, and how easy it is. And it was, Robin, you guys were just saying this, and how soft people are now. And it's disgusting how soft people are. And I'm in this too. Like I think about myself compared to like 100 years ago. Like I was just talking to someone the other day about literally battles, right? In trench is why I bring this up a lot, like trench warfare. It's like, I mean, there's a reason I probably wasn't alive at that time. Like, can you imagine just like, going up over the trench, or, got my bayonet ready to go. I mean, and just, oh no, we got my sword. We're just battling out for thousands of years. There's a reason we're alive right now. We're a little softer than people used to be. And that's the humility that's needed at the end of the day to understand, like, we stand on the shoulders of all these other people, and that's just completely lost in society. And why is that? Well, a lot of government run schooling, a lot of commercialism, a lot of government run schooling, that, the post World War II consensus turning us into consumers, especially here in the West, constant just distraction on our phone. We don't understand what the importance of life is and what it means to be fulfilled. Nothing. We're just black, empty vessels right now. And my fear is that it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, because we're going to have to snap ourselves back to reality. And I think that's why I get so passionate about this stuff, because you kind of look at Bitcoin, you're like, wow, this is the one chance to kind of sidestep the pain a little bit. And maybe I'm the dumb one. Maybe I'm the moron and the highly regarded person to think anything different and think that we can actually sidestep a little bit of the pain. And maybe we just have to go through it and just kind of go head on into it. So I don't know. I mean, that's...
I maybe it's a good time to like highlight some of the comments. I selected some. First of all, like someone gave us a super chat. I think it's on Brandon's channel. I just see that it's not on the Mastermind channel. I don't know which other channels like it got on there. I think from Grandel. I liked it a lot because both for Brandon and it's a nice mug. I thought so often of like selling that with like a Bitcoin logo on there, but I never got around to it. Maybe I'll launch it at some point because I absolutely love drinking from that. A 1 liter glass is a huge unlock if you're a long time on the on the table working on. There was a few
to drink out of it, one to pee in.
I still go to the toilet for that, but might be worth exploring for the future. I don't know. It might save me some seconds per day. There's a few more questions that came up about BIP 110, about quantum computing, about MSTR, all of those things. One question that I just want to quickly get to before we jump to the other ones was this one, because we talked about getting paid in Bitcoin and how it's a little bit harder. I don't mean that the work is denominated in Bitcoin as a unit of account. Like I think, at least for me, I think most people, even if they get paid in Bitcoin, are still denominated in US dollars or Canadian dollars or Australian dollars or euros or whatever. It's just that you get paid in Bitcoin. So like you still get the same dollars, but just twice as many Bitcoin for that. So that I think that's at least not what I meant with like getting paid in Bitcoin. It's not denominated in Bitcoin. Like you guys also, like you don't denominate anything in Bitcoin. Like it's still dollars, right? It's still fiat.
Yeah, mostly fiat. I mean, I do a lot of different things, but if anybody from the Gov is listening, I'm strictly fiat, all in my bank account, all reported properly.
Same. I boat a lot in the summer too. Just also a lot of lakes here in Michigan, a lot of lakes in Manitoba too.
Tons.
So a lot of boating.
We don't have Bitcoin, right?
No. I know it's the answer though. It's pretty obvious.
I hope to one day get some.
I want to be a serious.
Or you can just get a few sets.
Yeah, I want to be a serious journalist, so I don't want to benefit from Bitcoin going up. So, in order for that to be true, I cannot buy it. If I objectively report on it, right?
Exactly. And yeah, in Country Club Hillbilly, I mean, like 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. So again, it's the system is completely inverted, obviously, and yes, in US dollar price conversion, is that right, wildly going up and down? Of course. I mean, look at the bond market. Look at these dollar denominated markets. They're a mess. The risk-free rate, the thing that's supposed to be just kind of sitting there doing its thing, the bond market has been a disaster. It's been a disaster for years. And no one talks about that. You hear about like, oh, people aren't really buying, they're not buying US treasuries that much, and Russia and China stopped and things of that nature. But no one really talks about the volatility of the bond market over the last handful of years. And it's like damn near more volatile than, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's like, I look at it as just the same as Bitcoin at this point, where it's like, I mean, it's just wildly swinging all over the place. And so I think that's just, part of like the fourth turning aspect too, where things are kind of just flying apart at the seams. So in the grand scheme of life, again, like we said earlier, we know Bitcoin goes up and to the right in terms of USD because they're going to print more. They have to. I think 10 years ago, we were at like 15 to 20 trillion in debt, and now it's 40 trillion. And that was 10 years ago. And then 10 years before that, we were at like 5, 6, 7 trillion. So again, when you zoom out, we're at the exponential part of the curve. And that's why I was saying earlier, what part of the timeline are we on? And like as an investor, as a family man, family woman, as just a citizen of the world, of society, of your country, you got to know what timeline, where you're at on the timeline. You have to understand that. It may be the most important thing to go figure out. Where are we on this timeline exactly? Where are we at in the empire? I joke with people all the time. I go up and down I-75 here that goes all the way from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, all the way down to Miami, Florida. And you go up and down in Michigan here on I-75 and just tell me the next 20 billboards that you see. And you tell me, are we at the beginning of the empire or the end of the empire? And it's, I mean, your guess is as good as mine of just it's higher education signs, lawyers, DraftKings, some type of sports betting, casinos, pot shops. That's 6, 7 out of the 10 billboards are one of those things, at least. That ain't good. That's not good. And so that you have to know the timeline that you're on. It's paramount to understanding where we are. So in a 6-month span, 12-month span, 18-month span, yeah, could your work, the value of it be cut in half potentially? Yeah, of course. But on the long time horizon of things, that's why, again, I don't think I've ever seen anyone necessarily, and I'm kind of general broad brush strokes here, of saying, hey, you need to go put every single thing into Bitcoin. Everyone has to make their own decisions. So I was talking to people yesterday about this. Of, hey, people want diamonds, they want firearms, they want food storage, they want, people want all different type of stuff. It's just, what are you putting your energy into, though, right? What are you focusing on every day? To me, that should be Bitcoin. It might not mean you're buying all Bitcoin every day, because yes, we're still in the volatile aspect, the volatile time of Bitcoin. And I wish everyone could, because then adoption would increase even faster, but the energy should be there. And that's why I went back to earlier. I've been thinking about this and writing about it. When you are jumping from thing to thing and spending all your time and energy, your focus, and Joe was talking about this too this week, when you're focusing on other things, now you're not pushing the new system forward. You're worried about DraftKings. You're worried about Polymark and Kalshi. You're worried about AI stocks and NVIDIA. You're worried about all this other nonsense that won't be here 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now. It's a moot point. And so Bitcoiners just see that, they see where the puck is headed, and they're like, well, why would I go do all these other things that won't be here? My work is in vain at that point. So not only is it cut in half, it will be in vain. It will be 0 50 years from now. That to me is just a bet I'm not willing to take. So my energy, because I save in Bitcoin over the last 10 years, is now I get more of that time back to then come do things like this, to then write more about it, to produce artifacts, so then other people can learn and other people can grow. That is the opportunity cost. And that the more people can do that going forward, the more it spreads, because we are the marketing department, the more it spreads and the more we learn, the more we grow. And people, when they are hurting, they come look for something. And then more of us are there to say, hey, and they find the person they resonate with, the book they resonate with, or whatever it is. And they say, hey, this is amazing. Like, I have been looking for this. I've been looking for, how many of us were orange pilled, but it was the 5th time or the 10th time or the 100th time we saw it because we didn't hear it the right way the first time. That's because there wasn't around a lot of people around 10 years ago really talking about it and writing millions of books about it. Now, hopefully there's more and more people doing content. And if you're out here running a hedge fund over here, because you have to do that in your day job or aside from your day job, then you can't produce more content. And then that's one less voice that someone might attach themselves to and resonate with. And now they miss Bitcoin. Now adoption is slow. So it's a ripple effect. It's a butterfly effect of life that we just don't see. It's impossible. This is like that different level. And again, George talked about this too, the different energy, Dolores Cannon that we brought up, he brought up yesterday. And this is different energy, it's different level. What are you focusing on? That is the prime answer right now. And what part of the timeline you're on. To me, that's everything.
Yeah, 100%. It's so interesting because if you think about the different timelines people are on, I love that you kind of brought it up because you see people are sometimes still like 10 years behind, 20 years behind in their thinking. And some are like already a little bit beyond and they're seeing what's kind of going on already now and what effect that has in the next 5 to 10 years on your individual life. And I don't know if you meant that by that, but if you have the ability to kind of see where we are right now, a little bit connected to also what we said before, with like be above average just a little bit. And someone made fun of that in the comments of like, oh, like new goal, just be a little bit above average. I mean it. I mean, strive for as high as possible, but just being a little bit above your average Joe gives you like 10x the results, because there's some law of. I actually knew the name of that, but there's some law of outcome in there. If you have compounding, yeah, exactly, the compounding thing. So like if you stick around, like every workout, every training that you're doing after like your hockey training, after your soccer training, after like whatever you're training for, and just like put like 1 hour longer than all your teammates in there, that 1 hour will compound so fast and you will be 10x better than every single person on your team. And then you will get to a better team. And then you do this with the next team. And then you do this with the next team and the next team. And so like just doing a little bit more than the average will get you 10x, 20x above the outcomes. So yeah, it's might not be the most ambitious goal, like do a little bit more than the average, like do as much more as you can. But like, I just wanted to make the point: if you only do a little bit more, you will be on a whole different timeline than most people.
If you keep doing it, right? And I think that's where a lot of people, 100%. That's where the compound effects really comes in, is if when you're doing things over the long term. And you see this every year. I mean, the diets, the workouts, it's like, man, I want to lose 10 pounds. I need to lose 10 pounds before my trip to Miami in 2 months. So they either take something like Ozempic or they go to the gym for 2 months straight and they actually do it. But what happens when they get back? They fall right back into their old habits. And so a lot of people think that they need to do something by this date. And that's really where they get lost, because nothing good is done that quickly. Everything good takes time. And so, but when you think about it that way, actually one of my favorite little clips, I think it was a guy named Brian Tracy, who basically said, if you can get 0.01% better every year for a decade, then you should be, I think it's 1,000 times more valuable. Yep. Compounding 0.01% every day. And that's where people get it wrong. They think that it's a sprint. It's not a sprint. It's consistently showing up. It's putting in the work. It's letting the compound effect, because the person that you are tomorrow is going to be 1.01% better. And then you're going to be compounding on top of that. You have new skills. Even though you added some today, you still have those skills that you compounded from yesterday too. And that starts turning into something real. And I really think that if you can do this next 5-10 years right, it might not seem like a lot because you're still looking at the world through a fiat lens. You're still paying attention to the old world, but you're going to wake up in a decade from now and you're going to say, holy shit, you know, those $5 a day, those $15 a day, $25 a day that I was putting from fiat into Bitcoin, that's something special. If you can get through that, if you can do it consistently and just keep stacking, no matter what the world tells you it's worth today versus what it was worth 6 months ago, that doesn't matter. It's at the end of the road. It's the long-term thing here. Take a decade. And, you know, you're going to be surprised with how much silently compounds in the background while you're not even paying attention to it. That's why I like the DCAs, the automatic recurring buys, because like you don't even see it. And then all of a sudden you check it in 10 years from now, you're like, oh my God, that's a new house, or that's a new something so little that you did back today turns into something incredible at that point in the future. But it doesn't happen by spurts and sprints. It's the compound effect. And that's really what makes a difference.
Yeah, so true. So true. Good old Brian Tracy.
I love him.
So good.
I have two more.
I think it's 1,000% formula, right? That's yeah.
What's the 1,000% formula?
It's Brian Tracy, one of his famous lectures.
I'll share the link. Actually, yeah. I recommend everybody watch this video because it's applicable to every single person here, because really what you want to do in life is become more valuable, because when you become more valuable, you make more money and you have more value to store and you can get more Satoshis and you can push yourself further along. And it's like a 10-minute video. What's it called? Is it 10,000%? I think it's called
the 1,000% formula.
1,000%. Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I said 1,000 times, but it's 1,000%, which is still pretty freaking good. So it's got 1.5 million views. This guy's a real estate guy or what, Brandon?
No, Brian Tracy is not. I don't think so. No, he's just a personal development guy. So.
It's just on a real estate channel.
Oh, yeah, probably on a real estate. Someone's talking about it or something. Yeah. Yep. No, it's so good. It is. It's becoming be do have. I mean, we've talked about it before. Be do have. And again, how many Bitcoiners? You know, I don't have my whole. I got to get some Bitcoin, but I'm trying to work on my my sovereign stack in general. Though I've got a good sovereign stack going, but there's still things I want to refine. There's still things I want to do. You know, so how many of us need to knock things off that checklist? Whether it's their Fedimint or the Nostr VPN that just came out, or their local LLM models, or their local getting their node up and running. You know, like there's all kinds of things that we can be doing in order to strengthen the network, decentralize the network, harden the network. Doing some home mining, a couple of comments in here throughout this. You can rent hash now. You can do, there's so many things you can do now. Backing up, getting your microseeds, getting your different stuff, right? Like backing up your, using your seed, getting your seed phrase from your cold storage wallet, backing that up, like all these little things, telling your family about it, or your wife, your spouse, your husband, all these little things that we can do. And this is why, like, again, I've always been like, I got to be more active on social media and stuff like that. But like, it distracts me from the little things that I need to do, though, a lot of times. And that's what, like, I feel like we're in this weird place where, and I read there's a great book that's about homeschooling. And it's actually a New York State public teacher from 1992 that wrote it. It's called Dumbing Us Down. And Daniel Prince actually was the first one that told me about it like 4 or 5 years ago. And really big in the homeschooling community. Not as big in the Bitcoin community, but should be. Like, every Bitcoiner should read it. So the guy was a New York State public teacher, won Teacher of the Year, got up and gave this acceptance speech, basically trashing the government-run school system. And it turned it into this book. It's not a long book, 150 pages or something like that. But it talks about all these little different things about, homework. You have the 8 hours of school, then you have homework afterward. Like, what do we do all day? And like how these little things were designed to keep you distracted. Commercialism in general, and goes through like just TV and like all the different things, all the commercial, everything was just there to zombify you and just keep you distracted. Bread and circus everywhere you go. So like, how do you distract the population? With commercials, and with and consumerism, and then the TV shows, and then the movies, and then you have like a little kid when he comes home, he can't hang out with based Uncle Robin or based Uncle Jor because he's got homework. Oh, sorry, can't come over. Can't hear about how evil people are trying to take over the world because I got to go do some math homework. What the hell are you? What? Like, the kid will figure out math by the time he's 10 or 12. Like, don't worry. He gets a couple of things of instruction. He gets to a certain age where he's smart enough, and guess what? He'll figure it out. Don't you worry. But that's the government and school system. It's been told, you've been beat over the head senselessly forever that you need to be in government's control. You got to be there. And now it's like, what, 3 years old? You're like, well, they're subsidized because it's just daycare. It's glorified daycare because mom and dad have to go work because they're on the freaking hamster wheel because they didn't invest in Bitcoin 17 years ago and then 15 years ago. And they didn't do it 12 years ago. And then 3 years or 5 years. Like, this whole process that just continues to compound on itself because we don't want to do the work. And then I got to send my kids when they're 3 into government's hands, who has nothing of your best interest. And I have to get back on the hamster wheel. I mean, it's just clown world. It's absolute clown world.
Yeah, I trust
the guy. You guys want to address 2 more comments? We had, I think, a few comments on quantum computing and a few on the PIP 110 thing. I think PIP 110 we already covered once, but we can get into it again if you guys want. Quantum computing is super annoying. I just had, oh gosh, I forgot his name. The second guy, the Knut Svanholm, the guy is also in his podcast.
Luke.
Luke. Luke. I had Luke on just a couple of days ago, and it was so fun because he actually comes from the from the cybersecurity world, and he knows his stuff really well. And he kind of brought up that quantum computing in itself might never become a problem. Like, quantum computers is not a guaranteed thing that will ever become a viable options. They still have problems making the quantum computer make like 3 + 5. It's super hard for them to even function currently. And so it might never become a problem. But let's say if they ever become a reality, do they become even a reality? Oh, so I forgot this. This is the comment from here. If they become a reality, it doesn't mean that they have to attack Bitcoin, because there are a lot easier attacks that they can choose. It's a lot better on other things to attack or like to tackle on there, except of Bitcoin. So what I mean by that is, if you have developed those computers for like hundreds of millions and maybe billions of dollars, why would you go after Bitcoin? Like, what is the incentive for you to attack a network that you then destroy, that then is nothing worth, and then like your investment is gone? There's so many better options to go after that. And so like, okay, but let's say someone actually wants to crack open some Bitcoin wallets. Their public key might not be visible, so you might not have a public key that is actually like there out in the open. There might be some that are open from the Satoshi wallets, and there's also one thing. People think they're like Satoshi's coins are all in like one thing. Right. They're like in 50 Bitcoin and 25 Bitcoin chunks. So they're not like you crack one thing and like you have like 1 million Bitcoin.
Right.
So like your Bitcoin are very safe. And the worst possible outcome, in my opinion, for quantum computers is if someone actually figures this out, spends a bunch of millions and billions of dollars on it, cracks like 2 times 50 Bitcoin from Satoshi's wallet, we upgrade, and Bitcoin price crashes and we go back to normal life after a few days. But it's such a low probability. So I have no clue why the quantum thing is even talked about. But I see so many questions also here. I think at least 2 questions I saw just from that. So I kind of wanted to get your guys' take on quantum, if you have any more thoughts on that.
It's one of those things to me. It's just it's a distraction. And again, we know that they can stop Bitcoin. They know they can stop Bitcoin. And when I say they, I mean the central bankers, the people that we're fighting against here, the people who print money, the money changers, we'll call them, the central bankers. That's when I say they, that's who I'm talking about here. They know that they can't stop Bitcoin. So what can they do? They can try to convince everybody with their multi-billion-dollar propaganda media machine, and that's what people buy because they haven't put in the work to understand how insignificant it is in the future and how it is today. And so to me, how I think about quantum is like, it's very easy for me to protect myself against quantum because, I mean, the easiest thing to do is just move out of old addresses. There's already quantum proof addresses available now, but also get a multi-sig. Get a multi-sig. Get your Bitcoin in a 2 or 3 multi-sig. Even if somebody were to crack one of your keys, they still can't do anything with that. And so again, it's just a lack of understanding of where we are, because if an institution was out there and like, hey, we should get some Bitcoin. It seems to be catching on. There's only so much of it. Government can't control it. Government can't stop it. We should get some Bitcoin for our organization here. Well, what are they going to do? They're probably going to put it in like a 3 of 5 or a 5 of 10 or a 10 of 20 multi-sig. So they're completely immune from that. It's not even it's a non-starter for them. And, I think that anybody who has a significant amount of Bitcoin, you should be doing that either way. It's not like Microsoft would just have a cold card with 12 words on it, and that's how they would keep all their Bitcoin, right? Like there's certain ways how you can set up and secure Bitcoin where even if you do end up cracking one of the codes to it, one of the keys, you still can't do anything. So I think it's just a sign of the times. It shows where we are and how few people actually understand what's happening here, but also just another example of the FUD. And that's all they have. That's their only weapon against Bitcoin, is spreading bullshit about it. It's the only weapon.
Admittedly. I mean, I've been referring to the Joe Manchin. I don't know if it's an interview or I'm pretty sure I have a vision in my head of watching him say it, but it's from like 2014 and him saying we should have killed Bitcoin when we had the chance. And this is the West Virginia senator that I was always kind of crossing the aisle and going back and forth, and was like the deciding vote for a lot of things for 10 years or whatever. And he admitted it. So what do they have? They have price suppression. They've got all these different things right now, flushing people out of their positions and making us act like a flock of birds, right? We kind of just chasing shiny objects. We're moving all together and I'm kind of scared. I want certainty. And smart money doesn't operate like that. And the guys at the top know that. The intelligence agencies for 150 years have been perfecting mass psychological operations. This is not new. Like, this is so old. It's such an old playbook, but it works.
Conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. I'm so conspiratorial that I've got a bunch of books on all of it, from many different people over the decades. Yeah, it's so true, but it's such a great tactic because it works. I mean, it works. Humans, we tend to, we want our status. We make decisions in life because of our status. Does it increase my status or does it lower my status? And that's basically how humans make most decisions. Yeah. And we have free will. I mean, theoretically, yes, we have free will, but the incentive structure of life is so strong and we're so emotional that a lot of times our free will is just kind of ripped away from us by mass brainwashing, mass commercialism, whatever it is. And we just get pounded relentlessly until your discipline, your free will just kind of goes by the wayside and you kind of lose a lot of it half the time. So, and that's the incentive structure of the system we're trying to reorient and re-architecture. So that way we can use a bit more of our free will and we are a little more free, literally and figuratively. So yeah, it's fascinating. Don't use, I'm not a quantum expert, but again, I was talking to Ben and Nathan, or BTC Sessions, those guys. And, again, they're like, dude, just don't use like everything you guys said, the old wallets, okay, whatever, but like, don't use, so get out of that, get off exchanges, You do multi-sig, don't reuse addresses. Like, this is really simple stuff. And so going back to the FUD, this is like the energy narrative. I mean, what did we hear for 16 straight years? Energy. It's boiling the ocean. Well, now what do we not hear at all about Bitcoin? Energy usage. Why? Because AI needs it. And that's the thing that they can control you with. That's the thing that people can make quick buck on. So now the government loves it. People love it. It's like, oh, it's great. So the energy narrative, now we need energy. Well, it was just bad for 16 years straight, though, I thought using energy was not good. Well, again, this is signaling the noise. It's understanding how to read between lines and see what's actually important, what people can't control, what they can control. That's what goes back to, someone just said, again, the marketing department. We are the marketing department. It's not, no one's coming for you. There's no government, there's no corporation that's going to go out and market and do your job for you. That's why the ETFs have been the double-edged sword. They, is there price suppression in there? Yeah, I'm sure there is somewhere, right? There's shenanigans going on. I'm sure there is somewhere. But these people will they'll FAFO, they'll find around and they'll F around and find out. But it also lets it have a lot of Bitcoiners sat back. And like we had mentioned earlier, there's a lot of good Bitcoiners that have gone into treasury companies. And now what do? Now they're silent. There's not that the education, we'll say. I'll just put it very nicely. A lot of those people don't put out the education that they used to. And so we're missing a lot of that. We're missing people that were looked to for years for advice or for learning. And now it's kind of muted. The toxicity is gone. We think people are going to come in and do the heavy lifting for us. The government's going to do this. Donald Trump's going to do that. This corporation is going to take us to Valhalla. That's just not how it's going to work. And so, again, are there going to be huge money flows? Again, multiple things can be true. Are there going to be huge money flows that do take us and buoy Bitcoin and send it into the stratosphere over time? Of course, sovereign wealth funds, that's going to be a lot of that. Those are the huge money pools. So those things are going to happen. But we're in that weird time right now where we're crossing that bridge from the kind of the retail world where you had your chance. You had 17 years to get it. And I hope many more do. But we're kind of winding that phase down of big money is getting in. They want their price. I believe the same thing happened 25, 30 years ago in the dot-com era where the retail was kind of in, got flushed out, and then big money came in and retail got screwed. Long story short. And the same thing's happening in Bitcoin now. And they know the game. They have all the levers. We don't. We're not hedge fund managers, but you have to educate yourself. That's the only antidote to all this, and know where you're at on the timeline. Know what's happening, because that's the only thing that's going to keep you on the straight and narrow.
100%. Man, I love your rants. Really, really cool.
Thanks.
I don't know if I want to start the PIP 110 thing because for me it's super boring. If you guys have any thoughts, feel free.
My only thing really quick with that was the same thing with quantum. I mean, the beauty of Bitcoin is that, look, the BIP 110 stuff will happen. I believe Bitcoin's money. That's clearly obviously it should be kind of obvious from the way I speak and the highly regarded rants I go on. But that's the beauty of this. Like, it's anti-fragile, whether it's quantum or BIP 110, the core versus NOS, all this. Economic actors, which is why you have to build your sovereign stack and get all these things in order and start getting educated. Things will play out the way they're supposed to at the end of the day, because economic actors will start voting in a way. If you're running a node, you are the owner of the system. Again, George's been talking about this too, right? Who are the players in the game? And so if you're the node runner, you're the owner of the system. You own the team. You own the sports team. And so you set the rules. So we'll see here in the next 6 months how things shape out with BIP 110. And again, I'm not an expert in any single one area of Bitcoin. I'm probably more a political person and revolutionary person and know more about monetary history and all that than anything. And so that's where I see the puck going. And I know the beauty of Bitcoin is that whether it's quantum or the BIPs or the block size wars or whatever it is, we have the anti-fragility to fork off. It could hard fork, it could soft fork. And that's the beauty of the system. And so it's just understanding that. But again, most people don't even know these things. They don't even understand these simple concepts. So that's why these things really scare the living daylights out of most people, because they don't understand that the system can and will protect itself over time. But it is getting educated. That's the big thing. And understanding that Bitcoin is monetary layer and it is money. It is a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, which, by the way, BSV crowd, there's a hard cap on it. So if it was just supposed to be a better Visa or something like that, you wouldn't have a hard cap. Satoshi knew money has to be a store of value. That's why there's a hard cap on Bitcoin. And there's only 21 million. So he understood, they, that it's a currency, it's a unit of account, and it's a store of value. That's what money is at the end of the day. So anyway, that was my thought on it.
BSV crowd, all 5 of you.
Could be one here. You never know.
Oh, they're everywhere, man. They're in the comments. Yeah, they're everywhere, just like a couple other ones. But yeah,
But the crazy
I
thing
don't
is,
have
like,
very much.
why are they still active?
I don't know.
Who's funding them?
It's a good question.
They're the bag holders of the system still, right? I mean, there's going to be a couple, or they're bots.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not even really worth our time and energy to discuss because it's a joke, really. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of talked about my thoughts before on it. I don't. People can call me a fence sitter if you want to, but to me, I don't think that there should be junk on the network. I don't think that you should put anything other than a transaction on there. Maybe some arbitrary data if you want to, like somebody put the US Constitution on the blockchain last week. I don't mind that. Who cares? Not a big blow to the network, because that's really what it comes down to. Is, I mean, there's the legal stuff, of course, which has been beat to death, but there's also just like storage constraints. And I think that you can kind of prune your node either way, whether you want to, I personally run knots because I don't want that kind of stuff. I didn't want the op return filter increased. I didn't see the reason for it. I never heard a good reason for it. So I decided to run knots. But I also just don't think that Bitcoin needs more controversy. I don't think we need more arguments right now. I think that we are kind of in a pretty good spot overall. And I think it's a bad time to do it. I think it was kind of forcefully put through. And I don't know. I don't like the whole narrative around it right now, personally. And I don't think people understand the implications. Hell, I don't even understand the implications of it, of if X amount adopted, if more than that adopted, if it forks. I just don't think we need that right now. Maybe at some point in the future where there was more of a need for it. I don't think that we need that today. And I think what it's going to do is just continue to divide people. And I'm a proponent of everybody kind of working together and being in harmony, because when you do that, you're much more powerful. And we got enough shit to worry about in Bitcoin. We got enough enemies, against us. And I just don't think we need each other as enemies right now.
And you know what's one huge enemy that we five are fighting, like a big one? It's the 1,000 subscriber mark of this of our channel. Was this a nice? Was this a nice one?
Yeah, good transition.
I hope this was a good transition. We are actually coming quite close to the 1,000 sub mark. So this is quite exciting. We had a few real good clips that went nice. Oh, it had 8,000 already. Last time I checked, it was 5,000. Crazy.
Wow.
Go to BTC Mastermind. This is where the chat usually is. I try to see all of the chat from the BTC Mastermind. And so, like, if you put the live chat on the BTC Mastermind, you have a highly more higher and increased chance of us actually putting you on the screen. And this should be the long-term goal that we all kind of consolidate there. And it's going actually really good. Like, most people are now there. And I'm myself not on the screen. What's going on? I don't care.
I'm just about to ask you, like, where do you go?
Who's talking?
Yeah, who's talking here? Maybe Brandon, you can move your mouth so it looks like you're talking.
Does it?
Yeah. Move your mouth.
No, you should move your mouth like that, so like I'm talking.
Ventriloquist.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So come on over to BTC Mastermind. This is where the chat is every week, and this is where we long term will be. It's worth your sub, I would guess so.
Amazing. Yeah, another great chat. Another great chat, boys.
Shout out to Midwest Picker. He said it's been years since I've seen Bitcoin Cash mentioned, and I think I just wanted to mention that quickly because it's really easy for us. And I talked about this mountain analogy with Brandon this week or last week, whenever it was, but it's really easy to like just kind of look around and kind of take for granted how far you've come up the mountain. And you have to remember that most people are still at the base of the mountain. And so I think that, when you're talking to people, when you're having conversations, you just kind of have to have that empathy for people that you went through that at one point, right? Like myself personally, I probably bounced around for probably 1 or 2 years of like, should I hold Ethereum or not? Because I would just listen to some guy and he'd be like, oh, Ethereum is doing this. This is why you should hold Ethereum. So I'd buy some. And then I would see somebody else say Ethereum's dog shit, get into Bitcoin. So I'd sell it. And then I'd find another video saying, hey, you need to buy some Ethereum today because of this reason. So I would buy it. So I was guilty of that myself. And that's how most people are, because they haven't put in the time to understand what Bitcoin is. And it's not something that just happens overnight or in a year even. Like, this shit takes a lot of time. Think about how much time you've been in Bitcoin and how many hours you spent studying Bitcoin. So have some grace, have some empathy for people, and just like understand that this is a trend and it's not going to stop. It's just, you got to be patient. You got to be patient.
I think it's a great tone to end it on. We already shot over the 1.5 hours. Any closing thoughts, Brandon and Joe?
I've had too many rants today. I gotta go make a cup of tea or something like that and just cool off a little bit. Just amazing stuff. It's an amazing time to be alive. I mean, no better time to be alive. This is just truly incredible. You get to see who's swimming naked. You get to see who's in the foxhole with you. Absolutely remarkable time. And just be ready for anything. Prepare your stack, prepare your sovereignty. Just be prepared. Be prepared for life, because you never know what's coming tonight, tomorrow, the next day. So let's be ready.
And I think that when you think about your sovereign stack, I think that it kind of ties into what we've been talking about the whole day today, because, you know, it's really easy to watch some podcasts and say, oh man, I want to try that. I need to try this. I need to do that this week. Don't do that. Just take your time, compound it, right? Just do one very small thing every single day and just keep going. And by the end of it, when you're looking back in 5 years from now, you're gonna be like, man, I accomplished a lot. But you're not going to do it in 1 week or 2 weeks or a month. It takes a lot of time. And so maybe to me, and this is kind of a good way to think about things, is like, instead of looking at what the fiat price is and kind of basing all of your ego off of that, number one, look how many sats you have and make sure that that balance is going up. That's the most important part. But also, if you could rate yourself out of 100 right now, 0 to 100, 100 being very sovereign, very freedom focused, where would you be? And try to move up that level. If you're at 50 today, try to be at 60 by the end of this year, and just keep going in that direction. And again, it ties into the compounding stuff too, because it all compounds. So focus on like the right metrics. The fiat exchange rate is not the metric to be counting on. Number one, it's completely out of your control. But number two, it's irrelevant at this stage. So look at those two metrics: your balance of Satoshis going up and your sovereignty percentage going up. Your sovereignty score, get that going up.
Yeah. And Robin, thanks for putting all these on as
Amen.
well. Robin does a ton of back end work, so thank you for that. To the chat, everyone, great chat today. Awesome team of people around. It's just amazing. And run a node, like someone just said. Don't know who just said it, but run a node. You know, so part of that stack. Make sure you run a node though. Run a node. Get a node. Do it now.
Run a node and subscribe to the channel, because we don't have any sponsors here, man. Like, we're actually like literally just showing up every Tuesday here and doing this completely for free. Like, it's because we love it though, and we want to push this thing forward. And so what we would ask is just go over to the channel, subscribe to that one, and most importantly, just show up in that live chat so all of us can be together. We don't have to be doing this individually. We can kind of go into one. We can all be together and spend Tuesday afternoons hanging out. And yes,
awesome.
Thank you, Robin.
It's easy. I just put a title and a thumbnail in there, and do some clips. Some do good, some do not that good. But yeah, thank you so much. Also, Forrest, for coming on today. He's no longer here. And also thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Joe, for being here today. As always, we will be back. Bye-bye.